The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're talking again with Debby Goedeke. She is the Convention Services Manager of the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So welcome back, Deb.
Thank you, Joe. Good to be back.
So now we're here. You have another title.
I do.
And you are also the Albany County Film Commissioner. So
I am.
Was there a need for one of these? I didn't even know we had one. So tell me about what the, what the Albany County Film Commissioner is.
Sure. Well, when I first was hired at the Convention Bureau, which was about 11 years ago, they said to me, oh, by the way, you will be the contact for anyone that needs resources with regard to a film shoot or a photo shoot, but you'll get those calls maybe once every couple of months.
This was 10 years ago?
This was, about 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. So from that, it really has evolved into its own entity.
I see. In the last, particularly the last 2 or 3 years,
yes,
there's been several films. Which ones were filmed?
Well, Place Beyond the Pines was filmed predominantly in Schenectady, but also here in the Capital Region. HBO Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight, documentary that was done, was filmed in downtown Albany on the steps of the Education Building and some other locations. Of course, we've got Salt with Angelina Jolie, filmed on 787 in downtown Albany, and the other guys filmed in downtown Albany.
Now, it's not just movies, it's also documentaries, commercials, TV things?
Independent things, yes. In fact, I just worked with NFL Films. They did they're doing a documentary on Charlie Lee.
Yep, the Albany High.
Albany High football star. So I worked with them a little bit on the permit process, and again, just being the Albany help button, just like I am with Convention Services. It's just I'm finding those resources for the film companies when they come to town.
Okay, now the website, you can go on it'll be on the screen here. It's filmalbany.com. So since there's been a big increase in films here, what I wanted to ask you was, do you seek these productions out, or do they find you? Is it half and half? How do they?
Yeah, it's kind of half and half. We work in conjunction with the New York State Governor's Office of Motion Picture and Television Development. Governor Cuomo is a big advocate of bringing film business to New York State. So many times those feature companies such as Paramount, Sony, Universal, they will reach out to the Governor's Film Office about a particular location. And if they can't shoot something in New York City, many times they send them my way here in Albany.
Are you? But that office covers the whole state, though, right?
They do. They cover the whole state, but Albany County is, a portion of that business.
Before we talk about specific locations and things like that, let me just ask you. Say a company, or not a company, say a film is going to be filmed here, a movie or a TV show or whatever.
Yes.
What would the process be from when they first contact you to when they appear?
Well, the number one question I get asked is about the permitting process. What the parameters are with regard to the permitting process, whether it's going to be an interior shot, an exterior shot. Do they have an owner's permission? Are they going to need the street shut down? So I really do a fact-finding session with them to find out exactly what their needs are. And then we take them in those directions that they need. Sometimes they don't need a permit. If they're shooting something that's interior and they have the owner's permission, then they don't need a permit through the city clerk's office. We just had a commercial shoot in downtown a few months back, and they wanted to shut down one of the streets. So of course then at that time we bring in our community partners, city clerk's office, Albany City Clerk's office, City of Albany PD. I work with them quite a bit for traffic shutdowns, shut down the street, shut down the sidewalks. So all of those types of questions that they have when they come to Albany, I'm their Albany gal.
So it seems like there's a lot goes into a 5-minute scene.
There totally is, yes.
Now, I noticed on the website, there's several places in our area that is called a qualified production facility. What does that
Well,
term mean?
New York State, one of the reasons that people shoot in New York State is there's tax credits that have been defined by the Empire State Development Corporation, which is an arm of the governor's Office of Motion Picture and Television Development. So there are, such as Sage Armory, Times Union Center, there are specifications. They have to have at least a minimum of 6,000 wide open space, 6,000 feet of wide open space that they can build a set in or they can shoot in. And then they, depending again on the parameters of everything, they would qualify for tax credits.
The film company gets a credit.
Yes, yes. But let me just mention that it would have to be a $500,000 budget or above.
Okay, not a little indie thing.
No, most of the time.
But on your list here of these qualified production, I noticed some of them are specific places, and some of them are like a whole area. What's like downtown Albany qualifies?
Well, those are just locations themselves. They're not qualified production facilities. The two facilities that we have are the Sage Armory and the Times Union Center for Albany County. But I'm always looking for more places that we can offer up to our clients with regard to that.
So, it must be kind of fun. You get to go around and someone says, I need a mansion, or I need a graveyard or a cemetery. Do you get to go around?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And usually how I start that process is, why don't you send me some pictures of what it is that you're looking for, even if it's not the same exact fit that you're looking for. And most times that when I get those pictures, I, in my mind, see something already that could be a great match.
But these films, they do have their own people that scout.
Well, again, another good question. What they do is they actually ask me for a local location scout. So they want somebody that knows the area.
All right. So what are some of the Albany County features that you could highlight?
Well, I think
either have been used or you think could be used.
Well, as far as services go, I think the number one thing that brings people to us is that we are a one-stop shop. When you go to another city, and I'll just use New York City as an example, there's many different layers and many different departments that you have to go through to get your movie shot. When they come to Albany, I'm the person that they see, and then I can get those asks out to the appropriate people, departments, and individuals. Albany fronts a lot for New York City, for Washington, D.C., again, SALT, that's what they come in as.
So when that movie was being shot, they were supposed to be in Washington, D.C.?
That's correct. Yep. Yep, exactly.
So what are some of the locations that you could highlight for people? Like what kinds of buildings, what kinds of set?
We get a lot of calls about federal buildings, about Albany doubling as federal buildings. With the education department, our courthouses that we have, City Hall, and also in downtown, the federal courthouse. So we get a lot of calls about that. In fact, I got an email from the Good Wife. They were looking at maybe doing some kind of a spin-off series, so they were asking me some questions about some of our locations.
All right, so they must like all those buildings with the pillars, is that
They do. They sure do.
So when a film is in production in Albany, when say that on their shooting day or week, so when that's going on, what would you be doing all that?
Really, quite honestly, at that point, it's in their hands. We do a lot of pre-production work when they come to town. Again, a good example of that is the other guys in SALT. We needed to find a place for them to, they call it home base, where they can park all their tractor trailers and all their equipment. And coordinating the shutdowns with the Albany Police Department and making sure that any events that are going in Albany aren't going to be interrupted, and getting the word out to all of the workers in downtown Albany that the streets may be shut down, but our community loves the film community. They're not burnt out from it.
Okay.
So they're very, very welcoming.
And then besides the technical aspects of shooting, do you help out with finding the crews where to stay, where to eat?
Absolutely,
where to,
and that's and people say, well, you know, convention services manager, Film Albany, how does that all? Why does that all, you know, wrap together? But really, the reason is it's a huge economic generator for our region. So those film companies that come in, they need porta potties, they need a place to stay, they need craft services, they need local crew, they need to rent equipment, and the list goes on and on and on. So that's what I do. I find that for them.
Do they sometimes use local actors?
Oh, absolutely.
For extras or for?
Most definitely. We actually have a vacant office in the back of our building that we call it the Film Albany casting office, because many times we do an open casting call and people will come in. I really stress when a project comes into Albany that they utilize local resources. If at all possible, I want to put our local people to work. I don't want to bring in people from the outside.
So what would a typical, like when they were filming Salt, that was a big, they used the 787 and all that.
Yeah.
How many people would be in with the film crew? I mean,
100. I can tell you this for a fact because we housed them. Almost 150 people they brought in with them.
150. That's
150 people. All those resources. They used Lebanon Valley Dragway to practice the stunt scenes on. It was, I want to say, $1.5 million that was generated.
And then I know for the Charlie Lee documentary, how many would come for something like that?
I think probably 20.
Really?
Much lower, a much lower end, but you know, definitely very, very important. And again, to highlight a homespun hero, I just think it was great. And I can't tell you, they were the absolute nicest people to work with.
Well, I think if I remember from the article, the person who wrote it, isn't he from? He's from Guilderland. Isn't he from this area? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so he
yes,
came back.
Yes. I think it was Paul. I can't remember.
I remember his name, but he's from the area.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So it's interesting, and talking about people from the area. Here's another great example. So when Salt got all done, we wanted to premiere it at the Palace. And we did have a premiere at the Palace. And the reason we had a premiere at the Palace is the VP of Sony Pictures that I reached out to graduated from Shaker High School.
Really? Okay.
What were the chances of that happening?
I know. I have one thing I find interesting on your website. You got a list of some of the locations you use or can use. It says you have like a fake airport terminal. And,
yes.
You know, where is that? I don't
well,
know.
actually, you know what? We have used the Empire State Plaza Concourse as an airport terminal.
Oh, the downstairs. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, you get people carrying suitcases through there, and it looks just like an airport.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm thinking there's no fake airport in our area.
But our own airport is very, very receptive.
Okay. And then one other thing you highlight is in our area, we have all kinds of historical and commercial, all kinds of architecture. There must be so you must be getting an education in architecture, local architecture.
Yeah, I mean, of course, most of our architecture is Dutch, has that Dutch influence to it. But again, with the columns on the education building, that's a big deal. We brought a location manager in just a few weeks ago, and he like looked at that and was like, oh my gosh, he was from LA. He could not get over Albany.
So what about the Capitol? Can that be used, or is it too much?
The Capitol has been used in the past. Again, great partners with OGS. That's overseen by the Office of General Services. But with that regard, there's a lot of different layers with security. So I work in conjunction with the Governor's Film Office for that.
And then I guess another famous building in our area. Has the egg made it yet to any TV or movie?
It has not, but people are very intrigued by the shape of it.
When they come here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I noticed on your website, I don't know what's upcoming, but you have something upcoming where you're going to be using part of Albany to somehow be a European city?
Well, I had gotten a call about that. I had gotten a call from a gentleman that was putting a script together, and so he had asked me about Albany having a European flair to it. So I had sent some pictures to him with regard to Albany. We actually just did a wrap on an indie film called As You Are. It's shot here in Albany for about 9 weeks. We utilized Baldwin Sawchuk has a youth FX program from Albany High. So we utilized a lot of the film students there to work and volunteer on the production. So
it's going to be like a teen movie. Is that what
it is? It is. But and with this particular project, they utilized all of Albany County. It wasn't doubled for anything. It is Albany.
Okay. Oh, the story takes place.
The movie, yes. The movie itself. And we just had Fourth Man Out. We had a premiere at the Linda. Fourth Man Out, and they shot a lot of that in Albany. That's about a gentleman that's a straight guy. He has, or he's gay, and he has to come out to his 4 straight friends.
Okay. So what is upcoming? Do you have anything besides this European possibility?
Well, I actually got a call about an action scene. They called me about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I spoke to them on the telephone. They're from LA, and they want to shoot some sort of an action scene, possibly at the Port of Albany. They're looking for something dark, dingy at night, a little ominous. So,
but they literally might just come for one scene.
Yes,
really?
But that scene will take weeks to put it together.
And it might be in the finished movie, it might be what, a minute long? Or?
It might be a minute long, or it might be on the cutting room floor.
Oh God, well, that's kind of it. So this sounds very interesting as part of your side.
Our office, when we're working with a movie, we all live vicariously through the movie people.
And I noticed on your webpage, there's a little bit that you wrote about yourself. Maybe you could talk about this, because I found it very interesting. You learned quite a few lessons from when you started, how at first you were like, oh, a movie's coming, and tell me about this.
I sure did. My first experience with a film was with Mark Home Productions, and they actually shot aboard the USS Slater for a month. So they reached out to me. I had never had that kind of experience at all, that I was going to be needed for this type of a movie. And, it's kind of that you fake it till you make it. Yeah. But they were like, well, Miss Debbie, may we, blow up a depth charge on the Hudson? Well, we'll have to find out about that. So, it was all these interesting features that, with regard to the movie, then it was kind of hit and miss. And then you get some people that they're going to promise you the world, and then it ends up you take them at their word, and then sometimes you learn a hard lesson. You learn a hard lesson.
Have you had a few instances where you thought something was going to come and it fell through? And
I did. We actually, Albany had a wonderful opportunity to shoot a scene from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, okay.
And they came from LA. I had worked with the location manager on another project. Word of mouth is huge in this industry. So he had reached out to me for an action scene. And so he had brought his colleagues in from LA. We rode around in a motor coach for 30 people for the day, looking at all the different locations. But as it turned out, everybody, the construction right now on I-787, that's where they wanted to shoot. And they wanted to start in the middle of that construction. And DOT is a great partner with us, but there was they offered them some options, but it was not anything that they could do. So they ended up going to Buffalo and shooting it in Buffalo.
And then, do you only help with these productions? Is only Albany County, or do you go outside the county?
Here's the way I look at it. It's like with any colleague, whether they're in hospitality and tourism, or they're in movies, or really in any sector of what they do. Really, my job is to help them. So if we can't get that location here in Albany County, I refer them to my counterpart.
Okay.
Many times, there's things that we can't do in Albany County that we don't have that exact location. Place Beyond the Pines, for instance, that ending scene where he's riding the motorcycle on the straightaway, that was shot in the Adirondacks.
Okay.
So.
And some of that wasn't some of that filmed in Schenectady?
Oh yeah,
All right.
a lot of it was filmed in Schenectady.
Did you read?
I did not work a lot on that film,
Okay.
but what I did do was bring the location manager to the Albany County Jail
Okay.
to look at that. Look at that.
That sounds like a kind of a fun job.
It is. It is. I love coming to work every day.
Okay. And I notice on your Facebook page, the website's filmalbany.com. The Facebook page, you have all kinds of announcements and casting calls.
I try to engage our community in the film business, so I have a tendency to post everything on social media, on the Facebook page, whether it's a casting call, location request. Today I got a request for a beat-up car and a speedboat. So he sent me pictures and I posted it on the Film Albany Facebook page. And so right away I get a woman that reaches out to me. I have some friends on Saratoga Lake that have speedboats. Great, connect the two of those up.
And this is for a scene in a...
It's for a scene in a movie.
All right. So,
Yep.
And then you have some of your casting calls for extras. All right.
Definitely. I put it all on social media.
All right. And then my final question would be, is this... for filming purposes, is all year round? I mean,
Most definitely. I find that we're busiest from March to November, and then it kind of takes a little bit of a hiatus over the holidays.
all right. So, did I leave anything out, Deb?
Well, I could just talk all day, Joe, about this because it's such a cool part of what I do. But you were very thorough.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, it's filmalbany.com. Debby Goedeke, our Albany County Film Commissioner, and as I guess they would say in the business, that's a wrap. Is that
It's
enough?
a wrap, Joe.
All right, and we will see you next time on Getting to Know You.